There was a time in my life when I felt completely overwhelmed. My to-do list never ended. I worked from morning to night, always busy, always exhausted, but never truly satisfied with the results. I thought I had a time management problem. I thought maybe I lacked the energy, the intelligence, or the discipline of high performers. But what I've come to realize and what I want to share with you today is something that changed everything. You don't have a time problem, you have a habit problem. In this video, I'm going to teach you the specific, proven habits that will double your productivity, not in theory, but in practice. These are the same habits that turn me from someone who is constantly behind into someone who gets more done by 10 a.m. than most people do in a full day. I'm not here to motivate you with hype. I'm here to retrain your approach to work and life so you stop feeling overwhelmed and start operating at your highest level calmly, clearly, and consistently. Let's start with the truth. Your current results are not a reflection of your potential, they're a reflection of your system. If you don't have clear habits that structure your day, your mind will default to chaos. And chaos always leads to procrastination, distractions, and frustration. But when you implement just a few simple high-leverage habits, something powerful happens, your energy increases, your time expands, and your goals begin to accelerate towards you. One of the first things I had to confront was this myth, that being productive means doing more. It doesn't. Productivity isn't about doing everything. It's about doing what matters most, consistently and efficiently. That requires clarity. It requires rhythm. And most of all, it requires habits that support you instead of habits that sabotage you. Most people live their entire lives with systems designed for distraction, and they wonder why they can't focus. I want to help you flip that. Because here's the thing, productivity isn't a personality trait, it's a set of behaviors. And any behavior can be learned, trained, and repeated until it becomes automatic. That's the power of habit. The difference between average performers and high performers isn't talent. It's that high performers have developed a handful of key rituals that run their day like clockwork. Their minds are freed up for deep work because their systems take care of the rest. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you. We'll start with the most overlooked truth. Your day doesn't start in the morning, it starts the night before. The productivity of your tomorrow is determined by your choices tonight, what time you go to sleep, whether or not you plan ahead, whether your environment is designed for momentum or for chaos. If you end your night scrolling on your phone, going to bed late, waking up tired, and reacting to the world, you've already lost. But if you close your day with intention, even 5 minutes of reflection and planning, your next day begins with power. That's why the first habit I'm going to introduce is one I call the closing ritual. It's simple, and it only takes a few minutes, but it will transform the way you operate. At the end of each day, you write down 3 things: what you accomplished, what needs to roll into tomorrow, and your top priority for the next day. That's it. You close the loop, you empty your mind, you rest with clarity instead of chaos. And when you wake up, your next step is already waiting for you. Let me be clear. You don't rise to the level of your ambition, you fall to the level of your systems. And your habits are your system. When those habits are vague, scattered, or missing, your productivity will always feel like a fight. But when your habits are clear, intentional, and automatic, everything becomes easier. You don't have to force progressive flows. And that's the gift I want to give you in this video, the system to make that happen, starting today. When most people think of productivity, they think of doing. But high performance doesn't begin with action, it begins with clarity. Productivity is not about checking boxes or staying busy. It's about knowing exactly what to do, why it matters, and when to do it. Without clarity, your actions become reactive. You work all day, but nothing meaningful moves forward. I know this pain. I lived it for years. You finish the day exhausted but unsatisfied, and you can't explain why. That's not because you're lazy, it's because your attention is scattered. The second habit that changed everything for me is one I call the morning command hour. Now, don't let the name intimidate you. This isn't about waking up at 4 a.m. or meditating on a mountaintop. It's about taking back control of the first 60 minutes of your day before the world steals it. When you begin your day in reaction mode, checking emails, responding to messages, reading news, scrolling social media, you're giving your best mental energy to the lowest value tasks. You're letting them decide your focus. That's unacceptable. Here's what my morning command hour looks like, and what I've taught to thousands of people. I start by waking up early enough to be alone with my thoughts. Even 15 extra minutes can change everything. I review my goals, short-term and long-term, not just to remember them, but to reconnect emotionally with why they matter. Then I write out the 3 most important things I must accomplish that day. Not 10, not 23. That's enough to stay focused and still ambitious. These are not tasks, they're outcomes. Once I've identified my big 3, I take a few moments to visualize them already completed. I imagine what it will feel like to finish the script, make the call, deliver the pitch, or close the project. This primes my mind for execution. I'm not hoping to have a productive day. I've decided I will, and I've rehearsed it mentally. That single shift off, starting your day on offense, not defense, can double your productivity by itself. Most people don't need to work harder. They need to start with intention. Let me make something clear. Productivity is emotional. If you wake up rushed, tired, and reactive, you'll carry that emotion into everything you touch. But if you begin centered, clear, and purposeful, you build a rhythm of calm execution that multiplies as the day goes on. That's why the morning command hour is non-negotiable. It's the ritual that powers everything else. And if you can only implement one habit from this entire video, make it this one. Now, let's move into another critical productivity principle. Single focus flow. We live in a world that rewards multitasking, but every study confirms that multitasking actually destroys effectiveness. When you split your attention between 2 or 3 things, you're not faster, you're shallower. The real progress comes when you focus on one thing at a time, fully, deeply, without distraction. This habit will feel uncomfortable at first. You've trained your brain to crave stimulation. But if you can sit in the discomfort for a few days, something powerful will happen. You'll drop into flow. Flow is that state where work becomes effortless. Time disappears. Distractions fade. You feel in it. That's where your best ideas live. That's where your best work is born. But flow doesn't come to the distracted. It comes to those who are willing to go deep. And to go deep, you must create the conditions for it. One task, one space, one block of time. No notifications, no switching tabs, just you and the work. That's where power lives. So here's how you apply single focus flow. After your morning command hour, take your number 1 priority and block 90 minutes to work on it with 0 interruptions. Close everything else. Put your phone in another room, set a timer if you need to, and for that 90 minutes, pour yourself into the work like nothing else exists. Even if you only do this once a day, 5 days a week, that's 7.5 hours of deep, focused work, more than most people accomplish in a full week. Remember, it's not about how many hours you work, it's about how many uninterrupted, high-quality hours you create. That's where real productivity comes from. That's how you finish the big things, the meaningful things, not by trying to do everything, but by doing the right things with full attention and no resistance. There's a dangerous myth I need to shatter, that productivity is all about time. It's not. It's about energy. You can have all the time in the world, but if you don't have the mental, emotional, and physical energy to use it well, you'll waste every minute. That's why the most productive people don't just manage their hours, they manage their state. They build habits that protect their energy so they can consistently show up strong, focused, and effective. When I started to see this clearly, everything changed. I realized that what I did outside of work mattered just as much as what I did during it. If I wasn't sleeping well, if I skipped meals or ate poorly, if I didn't move my body, my productivity tanked, my brain was foggy, my willpower dropped, I made poor decisions. So I built new habits not because I wanted to be some wellness guru, but because I understood this. Your body is your productivity system. If you don't care for it, nothing else works. So let's talk about the next habit, energy anchoring. This is about building small, strategic rituals throughout your day that replenish your focus and energy instead of draining it. For me, it starts with hydration and movement, first thing in the morning, even if it's just a short walk and a glass of water. This signals to my brain that it's time to activate. I avoid heavy meals during the day that make me sluggish, and I keep a bottle of water next to me at all times. These small habits sound simple, but they're what keep you from falling into a fog by mid-afternoon. I also use micro breaks throughout my day. Every 90 minutes, I step away from my work. No screens, no scrolling. Just 5 minutes of walking, breathing, stretching, or sitting in silence. You'd be amazed how much clarity you can gain in 5 minutes of stillness. Most people burn out not because they work too much, but because they never reset. Their minds stay on, constantly pulled in every direction. These micro breaks allow you to return sharper, calmer, and more capable of deep work. Another pillar of energy is sleep, and I say this with total conviction. If you're sleeping less than 7 hours a night and trying to grind your way to success, you're not building, you're breaking. Your cognitive function, decision-making ability, memory, and focus are all compromised. That's not hustle, that's sabotage. I built a rule into my life. Protect your sleep like your success depends on it, because it does. Create a shutdown routine. No screens before bed, no late night scrolling. Set a time to power down and honor it. Now, let's add one more layer. Protecting your mental space. You can have good sleep, good food, and a great calendar, but if your mind is filled with fear, negativity, or noise, your productivity suffers. That's why I build time every week to reflect, journal, and reconnect with my goals. I ask myself simple but powerful questions. What's distracting me right now? What am I avoiding? What matters most this week? Those moments of reflection are where I clear the internal clutter, and that's when my focus returns. You see, productivity isn't about pushing harder. It's about aligning yourself fully with your mission. Your body, your mind, your systems, they all work together. When one is out of sync, everything suffers. But when they're aligned, you move through your day with power. You don't need to force progress anymore. It begins to happen naturally, even effortlessly. Let me be clear. You can't outperform your energy. If your body is drained, your brain will follow. If your mind is scattered, your work will reflect it. But when your energy is high and your mind is still, your results become exponential. You don't need to work more hours. You need to show up with more clarity, more intention, and more strength in the hours you already have. And that's what these habits are really about. Not just doing more, but becoming more. Sharper, smarter, more grounded, more deliberate. You stop running in every direction and you start executing with clarity. That's how you double your productivity, not by chasing time, but by building the energy and focus that make time work for you. If I could sit with you for just 5 minutes and look at your calendar, your desk, or your to-do list, I could probably tell you exactly why you're feeling overwhelmed. It's not because you're not doing enough, it's because you're trying to do too much of the wrong thing. The next productivity habit I'm going to share with you may sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful ideas I've ever learned. Eliminate before you add. You see, most people try to become more productive by cramming more into their day. They install new apps, they read more books, they build more systems, but without subtraction, all of that becomes clutter. Imagine trying to organize your closet by buying more hangers without getting rid of anything. Eventually, it just collapses. That's exactly what happens to your brain when you try to layer new productivity strategies over a life that's already overflowing with noise. When I finally understood this, I began a process I call strategic elimination. I looked at everything I was doing, every meeting, every task, every responsibility, and asked one simple question. Is this essential? If it didn't directly move me toward my goals or support my health, my family, or my deepest values, I let it go. I know that sounds drastic, but it was the only way I could create the space to do the work that actually mattered. Because the more you say yes to, the more scattered your focus becomes. And scattered focus kills productivity. One of the most productive decisions you'll ever make is to quit something. Quit a project, quit a commitment, quit an outdated habit that no longer serves you. I've seen people transform their output not by adding more, but by subtracting. When you remove even 1 or 2 non-essential responsibilities from your week, you recover hours of time, loads of mental energy, and a surprising amount of peace. And with that space, you can finally go deep. Here's how to start. Make a list of everything you're doing on a regular basis, daily, weekly, monthly. Then go through that list and categorize each item as either essential, important, or noise. Be honest. Most people have 30–50% of their week filled with low-value activities that don't contribute to their goals or well-being. You don't have to eliminate everything today. But even removing 1 or 2 recurring distractions will give you the mental bandwidth to focus again. Now, let's apply this same principle to your task list. One of the reasons people struggle to execute is because their list is too long. They don't know where to start. It all feels urgent. But when everything is important, nothing is. That's why the habit of prioritization is a non-negotiable. Every morning I ask myself, if I could only get one thing done today, what would it be? Then I build my entire day around that task. That one action brings more clarity than any motivational quote or productivity app ever could. Let me give you a rule that changed my life. The rule of 3. Every single day you pick just 3 high-impact tasks. That's it. Not 5, not 10, just 3. These aren't small errands, they're meaningful outcomes that move your mission forward. When you're done with those, the rest of the day is yours to manage as you see fit. But until those 3 are done, nothing else matters. It's radical simplicity, and it works. There's something beautiful about simplifying your workflow. You feel lighter, more powerful, more in control. And most importantly, you begin to make progress that sticks. You're no longer bouncing between tasks, reacting to noise, or chasing what's urgent. You're moving deliberately, executing with clarity, and finishing what you start. Remember, the enemy of productivity is complexity, and the cure is subtraction. Eliminate the unnecessary. Cut the excess. Protect your time like it's sacred because it is. Time is the only resource you can never get back. Every minute you waste on something that doesn't matter is a minute you can't invest in something that does. So don't be afraid to cut. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to protect your time with boundaries so strong they make other people uncomfortable. Because you're not here to impress anyone. You're here to build something meaningful. And meaning is never built in chaos, it's built in clarity. There's a mental burden that most people carry every day without realizing it. It's not stress from work or pressure from deadlines, it's decision fatigue. Every little choice you make, from what to wear, what to eat, what to work on next, how to respond to a message, it drains you. By the end of the day, you're not just tired from doing tasks, you're tired from thinking about everything. That's why the next productivity habit I'll share with you is this. Systemize the essential. If something happens every day or every week, it shouldn't be reinvented, it should be systemized. When you create repeatable structures for routine parts of your life, you reduce the number of decisions you need to make. That frees up your mental energy for creative, strategic, and meaningful work. I used to waste a surprising amount of time trying to decide simple thing show to organize my schedule, how to structure my meetings, when to respond to emails. Now, it's all built into systems. Let me give you some examples. I have a standard morning routine, Monday through Friday, that never changes. I wake up at the same time, drink water, move my body, review my goals, and sit down for my deep work block. No debate, no negotiation, it just happens. That routine alone saves me an hour of mental fog every day. That's 5 hours a week that I get back just by not having to think about what to do next. I do the same with my meals. I eat similar things throughout the week not because I'm boring, but because I don't want to spend my focus deciding what to cook. When I travel, I use a checklist. When I plan my week, I use the same template. These aren't rules, they're mental frameworks that support my highest self. The more structure I build around the repetitive, the more freedom I create for the creative. And this isn't just about personal habits, it applies to your work too. If you send similar emails each week, create a template. If you manage your calendar, manual automate it. If you always forget where your files are, build a naming system. These small systems might feel trivial, but they compound. Every minute saved from unnecessary decision-making is a minute gained for execution. One of my favorite productivity quotes is this: if you do something more than once, build a system for it. Systems reduce friction. They create consistency. They allow your mind to focus on what's new, important, or high impact, not what's repetitive or routine. And over time, they elevate your performance from reactive to elite. But here's the real magic. When you systemize the essential, you create mental stillness. You stop living in that low-grade anxiety of, what did I forget? What should I be doing next? Am I missing something? That noise, it's gone. And in its place is focus, peace, clarity. From that state, your work becomes sharper. Your ideas become stronger. Your presence becomes deeper. You operate like a professional, not an amateur. Now, a quick word of caution. Don't confuse systems with rigidity. Your systems should serve you, not trap you. They should make space for your best work, not box you into perfectionism. Build them, test them, tweak them, let them evolve with your needs. But once you find what works, trust the process, use the structure. Don't second guess it every time. That's how professionals operate. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters more consistently. So if you're constantly overwhelmed, constantly behind, constantly juggling, start building systems, start small. Pick one routine you do every day and write it down. Then follow it. Let it anchor your day. Then build another and another. Before long, your entire workflow becomes smooth, predictable, optimized, and the real youth, the focused, creative, high-performing version of you can finally show up and lead the day. Now, let's get to the truth that most people ignore success doesn't come from massive effort once in a while. It comes from small, meaningful actions done consistently over time. You've probably heard the phrase, consistency is key, but I want you to really feel what that means. Consistency is what unlocks compound results. That's why the next habit I want to instill in you is this. Commit to daily progress, not occasional perfection. I've watched countless talented people fall into the same trap. They wait until everything feels right before they start. They wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect mood, the perfect idea. And while they wait, others less talented but more consistent pass them by. Why? Because the consistent executor always wins. Momentum beats intensity. Rhythm beats inspiration. And when you make progress daily, even in small ways, you build unstoppable forward motion. The problem is that we overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. So we create overloaded task lists, burn out, and then crash into guilt and paralysis. That's why I started building a daily execution ritual. It's not about perfection, it's about hitting the standard. Every day I ask myself one question. What are the 1 to 3 things I must complete today to call it a win? And then I do everything in my power to hit that target. I don't chase motivation, I chase follow-through. I don't wait for clarity. I create it through action. You need to understand something important. Consistency builds identity. Every time you show up and do what you said you would, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, you reinforce the belief that you are disciplined, focused, and capable. That identity becomes your foundation. And once that identity is locked in, it becomes harder not to execute. There's another reason consistency is a force multiplier. It builds trust with yourself, with your team, with your clients. When you show up every day, deliver on what you said you'd do, and do it without drama, you become rare. People notice, but more importantly, you notice. You start to believe in your ability to execute. And belief is fuel. Belief is what keeps you going when the goal is far away and no one's watching. That belief comes from reps, not results. Let me give you a practical frame to build this habit. I call it the rule of one. Choose one goal, one action, one metric, and commit to showing up for it every single day. No matter how small, no matter how imperfect, do it. Write one page, make one sales call, do one focused hour of deep work. The key is, do not break the chain. The longer the streak, the stronger the momentum. And the stronger the momentum, the easier execution becomes. Here's something I tell my clients all the time. Progress creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence fuels execution. And execution creates results. But it all starts with doing the work today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. That's what builds the compound gains that double your productivity, not bursts of effort, but the decision to keep showing up. And yes, there will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when everything feels heavy. That's okay, show up anyway. Not because you're chasing motivation, but because you've built a system. You've built a standard, you've made a promise to yourself, and your word matters. That's what separates amateurs from professionals. One works when they feel like it. The other works because they said they would. When you start living by this code, something amazing happens. Your results begin to compound. You're not just stacking tasks, you're stacking wins. You're stacking self-respect. And every day that you hit that standard, you're not just moving your goals forward, you're becoming the person who achieves them. Let's talk now about the engine that powers every productivity system, every success story, every high performer I've ever worked with: discipline. Without discipline, no habit sticks. No goal is finished. No plan survives real life. Discipline is the bridge between knowing what to do and actually doing it. And in a world addicted to shortcuts and dopamine, discipline has become the rarest and most valuable skill you can build. Let me be clear. Discipline is not about punishment. It's not about being hard on yourself or living without joy. Discipline is about alignment. It's about creating a structure that supports the future you want to build and refusing to break that structure just because today feels uncomfortable. The most successful people I know don't rely on motivation. They don't wait to feel inspired. They do the work because they've decided in advance who they are. Here's what I want you to remember. Discipline gives you freedom. The freedom to wake up without chaos. The freedom to focus without being pulled in 1,000 directions. The freedom to finish your work and actually enjoy your downtime. Most people live reactive lives. They do what feels good now and pay for it later. But disciplined people flip that equation. They pay the small price now and reap the massive benefits later. And that, my friend, is the difference between stagnation and progress. Let me walk you through what I call the 3 layers of discipline. First is initiation, the ability to start even when it's uncomfortable. This is where most people struggle. They wait for the perfect moment, the right headspace, the energy, but high performers know that starting is a decision, not a feeling. If you want to be productive, learn to begin without negotiation. Don't check how you feel, don't scroll, don't delay, just begin. The second layer is continuation, the ability to keep going once you've started. Distractions will try to pull you out, resistance will rise, your mind will try to convince you to quit. But continuation means staying with the work long enough for momentum to build. This is where deep work happens. This is where breakthroughs occur. And this is where most people give up right before they enter flow. But if you can push past that wall, you find power on the other side. And the third layer is repetition, the ability to come back again tomorrow. Discipline is not proven in a single act. It's proven in your ability to return day after day, even when you're tired, even when you didn't see results yet. Discipline is doing the boring work without needing applause. It's building the habit even when no one's watching. And over time, repetition becomes identity. You stop being someone who tries to be disciplined, and you become someone who simply is. Here's a simple practice I use to train this muscle, the no matter what rule. Every day, choose one thing you will do no matter what. It can be small, write 300 words, do 30 minutes of focused work, review your goals. But the rule is, it gets done, no excuses. That one action done daily will start to rewire your mind. You'll stop seeing discipline as a struggle and start seeing it as a vote for your future. Every day you follow through, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. Discipline isn't genetic. It's trained. It's a skill. It's built through repetition, reinforced by structure, and fueled by vision. And when discipline is in place, productivity becomes effortless. You no longer need to push yourself every day. You've created momentum. And momentum is one of the most powerful forces on earth. So if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Build discipline like your success depends on it, because it does. Not with perfection, not with force, but with quiet, steady, unshakable intention. You'll fall. That's okay. You'll miss a day. That's human. But you'll get back up. You'll return stronger. Because you've made a decision, and once you commit to living with discipline, your results are no longer optional. They're inevitable. We've covered a lot. Systems, energy, clarity, focus, elimination, consistency, discipline. But I want to bring it all together with one final truth. Your habits are not just shaping your productivity, they're shaping your legacy. Every day, you are casting votes for the kind of life you're building. Not with your dreams, not with your ideas, but with your repeated actions, with your habits. That's where your future is being written. You might be thinking, but I'm not where I want to be yet. Good. That means you still have time to change. You don't need a revolution overnight. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to commit quietly, daily, relentlessly to a higher standard, to building the systems that align with who you want to be, to protecting the hours that matter, to showing up not just for results, but for yourself. Because the truth is, most people never figure this out. They spend their lives chasing motivation, trying to hack their way into progress, getting pulled in every direction, reacting to every fire, until one day they look back and realize they were always busy, but never built anything that lasted. That won't be you. You've seen behind the curtain now. You know the real game. And you're ready to play it differently. So here's how we close this. Don't try to implement everything from this video all at once. Start with one habit, one shift, one change, build it until it's automatic, then stack another. Slowly, intentionally. This is not a race, it's a foundation. And as those habits compound, your productivity won't just double, your confidence will multiply, your results will accelerate. Your identity will evolve. And suddenly the version of you you've been chasing will become the version of you that wakes up every morning ready to execute. You'll look around and realize you don't feel scattered anymore. You don't wake up behind. You don't move through the day in chaos. You're clear, focused, grounded, intentional, and the world around you responds differently. Opportunities appear. Results arrive. People respect your presence because you've done the hard work, not publicly, not loudly, but quietly, behind the scenes, in the rhythm of your disciplined days. And the beauty of it all? No one can take it from you. Your productivity is no longer dependent on willpower or hacks. It's embedded into your way of being. It's who you are now. That's the power of habits. That's the transformation that happens not when you try harder, but when you build smarter. So if you're ready to finally stop spinning, stop chasing, and start building, this is where it begins. Not with intensity, but with consistency. Not with noise, but with structure. Not with chaos, but with clarity. Build the habits, protect the process, and watch your productivity and your life elevate beyond anything you ever thought possible.